Hello! This is psychologist Yulia Latunenko with a new topic. 6 reasons why men leave women. Let's take a closer look at this topic. And as always, at the beginning of the video, I ask you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to like this video. So why do men leave women? And the first reason I see for this kind of behavior in men is irresponsibility. This is actually a kind of test, a really good one. If a person is afraid of the word responsibility, and especially if they never want to take responsibility themselves, meaning they always have some reasons for their troubles, and those reasons are always external. So what can you expect from such a person? Of course, this person cannot be an adult. This person cannot take responsibility for building mature adult relationships. And usually, such men leave women even before starting a close relationship. But as I said, you can use this kind of test. If a person is irresponsible, if they react to the word responsibility the way a bull reacts to a red rag, that's the first sign that this person most likely has a borderline disorder. Well, and you all know that it's very difficult to build relationships with people who have a borderline disorder. So beware of irresponsible men. And the second reason I want to mention on my list is infantilism. Basically, an infantile person is always afraid of responsibility, but among infantile people who have experienced childhood trauma, there are also those who are hyper-responsible. These are the people who won't take responsibility for their own actions, feelings, or needs, but will take on a lot of responsibility for other people. And they don't know how to split responsibility evenly, 50-50. Everyone is responsible for their own actions, their own feelings, their own words. So an immature person is someone who has not become an adult psychologically, but has remained in their childhood, meaning inside an adult body lives a child who cannot manage themselves. Such a child may be very afraid of being abandoned and may break their own boundaries just so they won't be left alone. Such a person will always be used, and they will also use their partners in order to cover up, like a shield, this abyss, this vortex of childhood trauma where once someone abandoned them, someone was unresponsive, and most likely it was their mother who was unable to form a psychological attachment. This could have happened for various reasons. But what makes adults immature is precisely our childhood traumas. Let's move on. What other reasons are there for men leaving women? And here I mention a reason such as narcissism. Narcissistic personality disorder prevents a person from building close relationships. And a narcissist, as you know, is the most malicious leaver. As soon as he sees that you are ready to build a common we with him, he takes his legs in his hands and runs away from you. Or if he still enters into a relationship, he creates a shared fantasy for you, tells you fairy tales, offers you the role of a good mother or father, and you take the bait. Then as soon as you relax and he realizes that he has you hooked, he discards his victim. You know, the term narcissistic discard means when the narcissist has already drained everything from their victim, all the resources, she no longer has her health, she no longer has money, she is totally dependent. He has cut her off from all her friends who could have provided help. He destroyed her self-trust through gaslighting. She already thinks that something is wrong with her, that there's something wrong with her mind, because he always says that she misunderstands everything and feels everything incorrectly. So in this way, he exploits, uses, and then discards his victim. Narcissists are the most spiteful, the most malicious abandoners of their partner. Narcissists always play the game of push and pull, hot and cold. So if you've already noticed this kind of game, he shows up, then disappears. Sometimes he's so nice to you and acts as if nothing happened, then suddenly vanishes without warning and doesn't care how you will feel. How you'll feel during that period when there's no contact with him. So the next point about why men leave you is a lack of developed empathy in the person. This can even mean a complete absence of empathy if the person is a psychopath or has narcissistic disorder. The lack of empathy always leads to the fact that the person is never there when you need them the most. Such people are emotionally cold. They abandon their partners in times of trouble. They may not leave them forever. They may seem to be physically present next to you, but emotionally, it's as if they're switched off. They are very formal. And at the beginning of a relationship, when you are building something like a family or a partnership with such a person, you might not notice that this person is being formal with you, that they are just getting married for the sake of appearances. This could be either a man or a woman, because narcissism and infantilism do not have a gender. And all of this, everything I'm talking about abandonment, all of it is very closely connected to infantilism, codependency, narcissism, and irresponsibility. In other words, all of this is the result of your childhood traumas. The next reason why men leave is the fear of intimacy. And again, I want to emphasize that the fear of intimacy, just like the fear of being abandoned, is connected to childhood trauma. In the life of such a person, one of the significant adults who took care of them, most likely their mother, because these things are formed before the age of 3, created an avoidant attachment and an avoidant attachment style. Why does this happen? Because the person is very afraid of experiencing failure in close relationships, just as they once did in their relationships with significant adults. And now they no longer want to make the same mistake, to become close, to trust someone. So such people don't allow closeness. Yes, they want intimacy just like everyone else. Because we as humans are social beings and we are wired for connection. But these people, when they take one step forward toward their partner, take 2 or 3 steps back, and they run away, they leave. Well, and the last reason I want to mention is men who accumulate very questionable knowledge, supposedly about psychology, women's psychology, for example, from some misogynistic bloggers who hate women and talk about pickup artist tricks. Or this movement in Russian, it's called MD, if you've heard of it. In Ukrainian, the men's movement, where bloggers, coaches, mentors talk about how to treat women toxically, how to disrespect them, how to devalue them, so that they chase after the man. So this accumulation of some dubious knowledge, questionable information, which is destructive, which is passive-aggressive, and sometimes even very directly aggressive towards women. This is misogyny, a phenomenon that is hatred towards women. Again, this is connected to the childhood trauma of such men. In fact, it is such hatred towards women is actually a transformed hatred towards one's mother in a man. Such men were unable to stop their mother, were unable to overcome her, could not say no or stop to her, because the mother is very manipulative, very controlling. And such men direct all of this towards women, and the woman becomes that channel, that dumping ground, onto which, like from a sewer, all this aggression towards the mother is poured. That is, such men, of course, are not separated from the mother figure, even if they do not live with their mother, or even if their mother has passed away. This does not solve the problem. Well, and you women who enter into relationships with such men need to realize that if you have such partners by your side, it means they are mirroring your own internal problem. If men leave you, if they project their mother onto you, it means you are a full participant in this play. And it also means that you too have childhood traumas. And of course, let me remind you, don't forget to leave a like. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment of at least 7 words, because for some reason YouTube doesn't count short comments. Well, I'll see you in my next episode, where you'll find a lot of useful content on psychology, especially the psychology of relationships.